Okay, we're back online. I think the mic is working okay. Digital flat screen display. All right, I don't know. Here we go. Who we got? We got nobody on right at the moment. Part 2 coming back at you guys. Looks like nobody's doing this thing yet. So some technical difficulties earlier. Yeah, just I guess it's the computer. Haven't been able to get the other computer live yet. It's been a minute that I had it, but you know what? I'm gonna. Looks like I'm just gonna take a minute and see if anybody is joining. Looks like we got one person that has joined us back. Actually, why do I still have this on? Someday live. Someday we'll have a live producer on the show that will handle this kind of stuff and whatnot. Oh. Okay, where are we? There we go. So I tried to, sorry guys, I tried to put on the debate and whatever. I mean, are they really debating anything really? I don't believe they really are. I don't believe in any kind of like, I don't know, in that there's any kind of real, I don't know. There are some good stuff. Let me take it back because Warren and Bernie sort of bodied Bloomberg last time pretty bad. So you know that could happen. Though I do love the Sub Rock beats. Just switch this over. Pause this. So let me see what you said. Let's see. Back to business. All right. So we got a few folks on. What is up? 3 very unique people in the billions of people on this planet. I'm also going to. I am going to stream live on Facebook simulcast. Just because I've got like 700, 800 people on Facebook, and I think we're up to like 55. Possibly 55 subscribers. What? This Facebook saying that I don't have a camera. Unable to find camera. I guess they just don't want me to do a live video on Facebook. I feel like I've run into that before. But that's all right. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I just don't think that they're gonna really do anything anyway. So at least nothing that's very substantive. Though, like I said, Warren and Bernie both bodied Bloomberg last debate. So who's to say there could be some good that comes out of doing that? We'll see. I don't know. All right, so let's see what's going on in the comment section. We have, oh God, oh no, what is happening here? All right, hold on, stand by. Something's wrong on the computer one of these days. Now, you guys, pretty much anybody that's watching right now, not anybody, but most of you guys automatically qualify for superfan status, because in this time of unproduced sort of hubbub of whatever's going on now. All right, this isn't working. I'm just going to abort mission. Abort Facebook mission. All right, so we got 3 people. That's good enough. What did we say? So, surprised that Warren arrested for murdering Bloomberg. They remembered. We don't actually have a Justice Department, no doubt. Tonight they're jumping on Bernie, so holding his own. So, yeah, Bernie. I mean, here's the thing: everyone's going to jump on Bernie because there's enough money to do it. There's so much money to understand what a billion is. So you understand, like a billion is 1,000 million. So if you had 1 million, that's a lot, right? You feel like you have a lot of money. If you had 100 million, that would feel like really a lot of money. If you had 1,000 million, right, that's $1 billion. So what could you do with that $1 billion? What kind of influence could you have with that $1 billion? So you got to think about, not just Bloomberg. That's just one person, but how about the corporations, the other rich people? What kind of influence do they have? What influence are they wielding, and why? And realize that Bernie is a threat to them. Any of the people that are running that aren't Bernie, if they win, it's okay. Warren is like much milder than Bernie, as far as what she's actually going to do if she was in office. She's sort of cuddled up a little bit with the corporate people, though she is sort of a firebrand right now. But I think that's just for the election. I think she, the way that she was currying favor with Hillary, and stuff like that. I know Bernie ended up turning into the support for Hillary, but I feel like there wasn't really much choice in that forum. I feel like there was some kind of strong arming going on, but I don't know. You guys say what you think. But yeah, they're going to jump on Bernie, and so think about what kind of influence the people with money have. I mean, how much? $1 million, $2 million? How much do you think it costs to buy a politician and influence their decisions? And if you had thousands of millions of dollars, so in other words, billions of dollars, how much influence could you buy? And I think that's something big to question. And I think someone who is not so sort of has run on the anti-influence sort of bandwagon, the populist type of candidate, I think that's someone who I would go for. Now, some people are of the belief that they're sort of against democracy. You'll hear a lot of these sort of libertarians, and it's sort of odd. They believe in individual liberty, but they don't believe in democracy, even though democracy produces through your say a social way of displaying choice within some kind of you got to have some type of limited choice in that in order to vote on something like that democratically. But then they also sort of they herald the idea that the United States was put together not simply as a raw democracy, because that becomes mob rule, right? So they forget that the mob is made of individuals. Like, it's, you know what I mean? There's nuance. There's no understanding of the fact that the mob is made of individuals, that the mob is not a thing in of itself, in that it is individuals. And so they say, well, no, we have a republic, so we send individuals to represent us up there. We just vote on the individual that we believe are, I guess, better suited and smarter than us to handle these things, which I guess is okay, whatever, right? Whatever works. So there's different philosophies. Do you believe that the common man can make decisions that are not only in their interest, but also in the social interest, or in broader macro interests? Or do you believe that there's a group of people who are better suited at handling that, and that those people should be the ones that are making decisions for this society? That is a fundamental philosophy that is different between different folks, right? So there are people, especially in the elite circles, that feel like the riffraff, the people that show up on Jerry Springer or on Honey Boo Boo or some of that kind of stuff, that those people are to be sort of ruled over, because if they were to be allowed to have power or say in the direction of the society writ large, that we would surely face demise. And I can sort of see their point, but at the same time, it's like, for me, I have a little more faith in our general populace, or at least I have more faith in the potential of our general populace. But I don't know, I lose faith on the daily. So help me gain some faith. All right, so Michael W says, until we elect a dipshit. Well, yeah, I mean, but even then, we elect the dipshit under representative government. I mean, we elected the dipshit through the governmental control of the electoral college. So it is not only that the people were allowed through the democratic process to allowed to elect a dipshit, but also through the representative republic process of having those votes be translated through the electoral college to then choose the leader of our country, the president of our country, not the ruler, but like the representative. I mean, he was over in India looking like a fool. People were leaving. I mean, he's talking and people turned their backs on him and were leaving, waiting. And like they would rather wait in line to leave than to listen to the president of our nation speak to them as he was visiting their place. He's just a national embarrassment. So yes, the checks and balances and all of that stuff that's supposed to happen within the representative republic of the United States, which is not supposed to allow mob rule to happen, that is the result. Trump is the result of that. And we have such a blustering buffoon as a result of this. I mean, it's a failed process. We have to sort of look at it and admit that the system that we have in place has failed us, because if someone like that is allowed, so why is it that someone's allowed like that? Someone that's really like, he's childlike. He has childlike ineptitude. He just, like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. How? All right, so let's see what's going on. Michael W says, those that would hold themselves up as the elite, holding back the unwashed masses, have been bought and sold to an extent that their intellectual superiority is now basically a moot point. I mean, nobody even trusts intellectualism anyway, or intellectuals anyway. No one trusts anything. And Trump's people, that's the thing, is that they are anti-intellectuals anyway. So you can't intellectualize with them. You cannot use intellect to bridge a gap with them. So that is out the window. And that is like, what do you do? I don't know how to combat that. I just don't know how to do it. I mean, but there's ways. There's got to be a way. I think one of the ways is to present something better, and it's not, and something better, but not only better, but it also has to not be something. It has to not be exclusive, but it also can't be too I don't know. It can't come with a bunch of presumptions and baggage and stuff like that. People are gonna have. There's almost has to be like a new movement, and Bernie's campaign is almost like that. I think in 2016 it was already sort of bubbling up, and now that it's had a chance to marinate, people who were Bernie fans back in 2016 still see him out doing stuff. And he's getting a little bit more forceful, and it's almost like, well, what does he have to lose? Which I understand. And I hope he keeps it up, because I think the more aggressive he is, I don't care what the pundits say. I think people are feeling it. I mean, the thing is, go find. I was talking to Superfan Chris earlier today. I dare you guys to go find a Mike Bloomberg fan ad. Go find one. Bernie has fans, just fans of his, that not his ad department or not his campaign people, unpaid, just fans of his that like him so much that have made fan ads for Bernie to go viral, to spread around to people. Look it up. Bernie Sanders fan ads, and they will bring tears to your eyes. They will. I mean, they're some of the most moving election ads I've seen. I mean, and I've seen election ads from decades that were supposed to be moving ads. And really, I mean, these are really heartfelt ads, and there's nobody, period. There's nobody that's out there motivating Americans anymore than Bernie right now. There's nobody's getting out of bed on a day. If they had a day off and they had to get up at 9:30 or something, let's just pretend that they had to get up at 9:30 to go vote, and they knew, even if they knew there was going to be coffee and donuts, which there won't be, but let's just pretend if there was coffee and donuts, if it was Mike Bloomberg as the candidate, they wouldn't get up to vote for him. I don't think they would. But if it's Bernie, they would get up to vote, and they would hang out and talk about it. People are motivated because why? Because what is he motivated by? He's motivated by helping people. He helped the people of Vermont, and then he went on for his electoral campaign for president, and that didn't work out because of DNC corruption, and that's well documented. You could look it up. DNC corruption, Bernie Sanders, very easy. There's a lot of evidence of that. So he's already had the nomination stolen from him and given to Hillary. And now people see that, they feel slighted. They know what Hillary represents. Hillary represents the sellout of the Democratic Party. Her husband helped really usher that through. I'm sure Carter was part of the process as well. I'm sure there was other Democrats, other Democrats that were part of the fold, but it's like the elitist Democrat political. It just really became a political game instead of leadership of the country. And, you ended up with the Clinton era Democrat, and a lot of republicanism going on that after that. And then, of course, Obama comes in and really doesn't instigate any real reform, and has a chance to do some really, really potentially transformative stuff, especially in the second term. Chooses not to. And sort of, to be honest, if you really look at his record and look at as far as the National Defense Authorization Act, and the continuation of the Patriot Act, and also some whistleblower, what do you call it? Retaliation, and who knows what else. I mean, so Obama really he likes to play the character of the smooth savior, but he really didn't do anything transformative. In fact, he's very much a disappointment to me. And so Bernie Sanders, I feel like, there's a lot of fear mongering going on with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is really not even enough, but Bernie Sanders is the best we got. And I feel bad. I just feel bad that there's not someone in their 50s or even 60s or maybe even in their 40s that's running in lieu of Bernie, that has all of the Bernies. Same, running, what's it called? It's someone that could run in lieu of Bernie, because he's getting old, and I feel like, even the campaign trail is going to be tough, but then being president is going to be extremely hard, and who knows? So I just really hope that someone eventually is able to step up and and handle that. So let's see what we got. All right, what we got in the comments. What do we got? Okay, so Michael W. said, what are your thoughts on a popular vote instead of electoral college? We want a leader, not a reader, no doubt. I mean, Trump can't say anything that's not on the teleprompter, and when he does, he sounds like a freaking yammering buffoon. It's ridiculous. Michael W. Obama was simply just the best plutocrat we had, nothing more. Yeah, he really was, and there's a lot of fanfare and press that's put together to herald Obama, because because in the elitist paradigm, if we can herald Obama, then that works out for them. More drone bombs, more crackdown on the citizens of the United States for anything from protesting to whistleblowing to who knows. I mean, especially First Amendment. There were some First Amendment violations too. I mean, he let reporters who were reporting on eco-terrorists, who you would call eco-terrorists, people who basically would go and blow up or otherwise break or harm or do something to oil pipeline valves, or shut down the pipeline, or do something, whatever they did. And they would tamper with it, and there would be press or people from the press or certain organizations, usually independent press, that would film and document the incident, and they would be taken into jail with the perpetrators as accomplices, which is a First Amendment violation. And so that was done under the Obama administration, and he helped let that go. I mean, even with the whole we had issues also with the Dakota Access Pipeline, where he had that also similar stuff happen. So Obama, really, he's not the savior that he's painted to be. The American people really deserve better leaders, and we just haven't had them. Period. End of story. Haven't had them. For decades, our country's been run by the rich of our society that have basically put their tentacles into the levers of government. And as it gets more complex, they can purchase their way through things. So remember, time equals money. So if they have more money, then they have more time. So they can hire other people to do things for them. So they can hire an army of people to do whatever it is that needs to be done. And people will gladly do it and sell out and just to make a living. And they will say it to your face, because they live in the paradigm by which if they don't make the living, then they die on the streets. So they might as well do whatever they can. And if it means like working for Bloomberg or whatever, even though he's like, total oligarch and just like, he's a total garbage. But they'll still do it. I mean, if he gave you $85,000 a year to go join his team, would you do it? I don't know. Maybe you would. Maybe you would. I don't know. So that's what he's doing. I follow a guy that's a young politician out in South Florida. And he said he was offered like 70 G's to go join Bloomberg's team. And he said, F off. He's a Bernie supporter, and he's not going to sell out to work on Bloomberg's Bloomberg's team just for money, and he's struggling. Young guy just out of college, he's struggling. So Michael W. says, so much so that even Obama's gradual improvements were labeled as Stalinism. Yeah, because we have a situation where people in the United States are not only anti-intellectual, but they are also susceptible to propaganda, and the propaganda has been very strong. So everything from hangovers from the McCarthy era all the way to Reagan and the Cold War. So we have a lot of boomers affecting their kids. And now you have a lot of these like sort of, I don't know, these chuds walking around that think they know what they're talking about, or the Dan Bonginos, or these boomers that don't know anything other than the propaganda, and they don't know how to even look at more than that. And then, of course, like I said, they have kids. They tell their kids about stuff. I mean, look, I'm a product of that. Right. And I believed those things, and I took them as gospel because I thought, my dad was telling me some, the sort of logics and facts of economics and some realities, Milton Friedman, all of these sort of, Hayek, sort of these right wing, quote unquote, conservative sort of economists. And even through going and working through the finance industry, it wasn't until starting my own business that I saw the sort of realities of, well, actually, it's something I always felt. When I was working in customer service in sales, there was always this perpetual growth state that, you had to have X% of growth over last quarter or last year. I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, at what point will we run out? And there's always this perpetual growth model that it will never end. Like, we will never have full market saturation. So don't worry about it. And that was always perplexing to me. And that's the thing is that you don't see a holistic picture. There's not a macro sense. It's always about like what's happening right now. What can we do right now, and not about what is a long-term effect. So, for instance, I'll give you an example of something that's happening in a long-term macro sense. So we've seen the erosion of workers' rights, their right to assemble into unions. The idea that you can fire people who are trying to assemble a union as retaliation, things like that. We're in a situation where their livelihood depends on their employment, and time is of the essence, and there is no social safety net or alternative to working at that said place. So if you decide to try to use your collective powers as workers, they can simply fire you. So these kinds of things tip the scales towards away from labor and towards capital. And of course, capital can buy politicians, and capital can buy whatever capital wants. And the thing that makes it more egregious is we always have to remember that labor doesn't have a choice. If you say, I'm tired of this artificial thing, here's the thing we lose perspective. If we dial back, how far back do we dial back, right? If we look at the situation we're in, it's unnatural. What is the natural situation? We pop onto this earth, and yeah, we might be fighting for survival out here in the earth, and that's fine. And sometimes people died, and there was famines and back in the day. Okay, now we're in an unnatural state. We have an artificial structure that we live in, but yet we're still natural beings. We're of nature. Our blood, our bodies, our everything is the same as similar. It's a living being, just like anything else. That's a living being, a living mammal in our within our zoological classification, and we have similarities even if we aren't very related to other living beings, right? So we are a natural being. So we have to really reconcile this. And we have to realize that a system that's fully artificial, we are not everyone's going to necessarily take to it and swim along just right. And just who's to say that this is the system by which is natural for us to that really resonates with our natural capacity as humans? Because there's only these certain people just say, well, if you can't make it in the system, then you can die homeless or you could just die. And that's just nature's way. Well, the system's not natural, and it's concocted and made by the rich people within the system. So it's already biased to help them out. And it's an unnatural system. So what I'm getting at is we should go back to a chance to become more natural. So we should, I think it would be an interesting idea to reopen the commons. I mentioned this before. Have a lottery, so where you could, if you want to put your name into the lottery and win a chunk of land to go live on, and maybe you get a grant with some equipment and some other stuff, I don't know, solar panels, whatever. And I think some people say, well, what production or what contribution to society would these people make? And I think to myself, I think a lot of the people would agree and would be zealously what is the word? Like participating in what I would propose a national defense and engineering or structural like almost akin to the military or Coast Guard, like this sort of this mobilization force. So if the United States needed to redo all the highways or do something like that big, that there's a force of people that can be mobilized to do those kind of national things. Let's say, for instance, someone tries to invade the United States. The people who live in the common areas can pledge to go to training once a month or something, almost like their National Guard. That hey, in exchange for this chunk of land that you get to live on and do whatever, you have to be part of the National Defense Force. And maybe it goes all the way until you are no longer able-bodied. So if you're 75 and you're like Rambo and you can do all sorts of stuff to defend the country, whatever, no age limit. You're part of the commons when it's time to muster, and you show up. As long as you can keep showing up and hold your gun and you can go through the basic drills and whatever, I don't care. You're part of the defense force. I think we could come up with something like that. And what that would do is it would balance out the wages and needs of the workforce, or it would make the labor force less captive. Number one, we also need to change the labor and capital relations, that people no longer can be bought. They should no longer be able to be rented either. People should be guaranteed a vector by which they can have equity in what they participated in over a period of time. So the longer you stay there, the more, or not even, I mean, you should, if you stay there for a period of time and someone's made a decent amount of money off of you, you should eventually have ownership in that enterprise. At least to match the amount of time that you spent in that enterprise. Okay, so here we go. Oh yes, and popular vote instead of electoral college. I think the popular vote instead of electoral college would make more sense. And people say, well, the cities aren't going to vote correctly, or they'll vote for more welfare, and the center of the United States is just going to pay for it. And that's a bunch of bullshit. I think in a connected world with the internet and all of these things, you have left and right. You have all sorts of people in all different places that have different points of view. And here's the thing: rural America does not necessarily support the rest of the United States. That was maybe back in the founding fathers' times, and tobacco plants and shit like that, and cotton farms. Not, I mean, Silicon Valley makes a lot more than all the other shit than in like all of Nebraska. So it's like, that's dumb logic. So yeah, New York financial centers makes more than all of fucking Kansas. You know what I mean? So it's like, uh, it does like probably multiple states together, right? So it's not necessarily about who's calling what shots as far as welfare or whatever. I mean, if there's an issue that's affecting the middle America, I think here's the thing. I keep saying that phrase. I need to stop saying it. I saw a pretty fiery speech that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gave in front of Congress about, I don't know, maybe a year ago. And she was giving a fiery speech about people in the Midwest who needed help from a massive flood. And she kept talking about people not only in her district, but also people. I mean, here she is, a representative from New York, talking about people she actually named off different states, but people in the Midwest that are having issues, talking about Americans at large having issues. So I think it's about leadership, finding the right leaders, people that aren't necessarily beholden to capital, who are going to answer the right question. Are we going to ask them the right questions? Or are we going to allow corporate media to tell us what to think? And what kind of, if you're curious about a certain issue, we should be asking as people in the country, as citizens of this nation, we should be asking some of these questions or holding our politicians to high enough regard and standards to be able to ask them hard questions about issues and have them answer them. And we simply haven't had that happen nearly enough. What's up, Kate? Looks like Kate jumped on. What did we... So much... Oh, Jade Helm. Oh, forgot about that. Sorry, mix. I missed that big one. Yes, I forgot Jade Helm. That was a crazy time. Yeah, and then it's almost pretend like nobody, like these people weren't so wrong, and that their opinion should still matter for some reason. Michael W. Red states generally take in more federal dollars than they give out. Yes, exactly. So I don't know. There's all sorts of feelings that are being kicked around by the people that say that they use facts and logic and no feelings. They rely on feelings all the time, feelings and assumptions all the time. And you'll see the results of this when you really press them on an issue specifically and ask them for specifics. And they'll get really deflective and really squirmy or mad or all sorts of weird stuff. So I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, anyway, they don't want Bernie to win. They need Bernie to break. They need him to stop because he represents a threat. Because what's going to happen when Bernie goes in, what that does is it makes the Nancy Pelosi's, it makes the Chuck Schumer's, it makes all those people irrelevant. You don't have the specter of Trump anymore. You now have Bernie in, and Bernie has the bully pulpit, and he can now start talking about workers. He could start talking about the American population in language that makes Americans remember what it's like to be an American. I saw some interesting comments on some of these videos that were showing either Bernie or AOC, and there's a few. There's one on there. Somebody that wasn't, I guess, supposedly wasn't from the United States, said that seeing AOC speak and with her passion about these issues makes them a patriotic to be an American, and they're not even American. And there was someone who said that hearing her speak made them finally proud for once to be an American. And I think that we should be able to be. What are we proud for? When we say yes, I'm proud to be an American. For what? And I think we should be able to answer that very strongly and very resolutely. And I don't know that I can honestly do that, really, because now somebody might say, "Well, that's gonna be like a Michelle Obama moment for me someday." That I said, "Oh, can we be proud for once?" There's always something. There's always some black mark, or not black, dark, some issue, some problem afoot, and why can't we just sort of do our best instead? I think we have this really, like, the Watiko has the psycho spiritual virus of the Watiko has taken over this cannibalizing it's cannibalizing spirit that will destroy another in order to benefit itself. And that philosophy has become a sort of a staple. And we have to ask ourselves: do we want to live in a nation where, like, our motto is "fuck you, pay me"? Is that what we want to teach our children? When we hear boomers talk about, like, whatever, I'll be dead before, when the earth falls apart, whatever, the kids will deal with it. Is that the type of message we want to teach our kids? When they shrug their shoulders with this sort of sociopathic, nonchalant, like, I don't care. Is that something that we should accept? Or, I mean, I guess, do we have a choice other than to make changes? I don't know. But, even then, I just, you hear people talk about climate change as a hoax and this and that. And my question is, if you understand at all chaos theory, if you understand at all about dumping this notion of dumping pollutants into a balanced system, at what point do you think that the system will be disturbed? And do you really have the hubris, right? The arrogance to claim to really know for sure when exactly that would be. And I don't know. That's a sort of the position we're in as a society, as an organism, as a species, whatever. I mean, that's really, it's a turning point. I have mentioned this before a few times. Joe Rogan likened humans to fungus growing on a piece of bread, and eventually that fungus will overtake the bread, and the fungus will have nothing, and the bread will be gone, and the fungus will die. And that is, I just imagine the earth being that way, and that we will destroy the earth, and then we will destroy ourselves along with it, or like it'll be a husk of a ball of material. Without life, or there's some, like, a very different amount of life than there is now, unless we make some changes, unless we can do some things different. But I just don't have a lot of faith in it. I just don't have a lot of faith. But I hope that you guys have a lot of faith in the future. And I know that 2020 is going to be a special, crazy year. Um, so I don't know. Humanity's weird. I think we're on the front of a big change. I don't know exactly. I think we're all part of this change. We will manifest the change, and we just have to think about the world that we want to live in. I threw out this when I first started this whole Boyd program. I think I asked a question about what it was to be a good person, and people had different takes on what it is to be a good person. And I think that's really a relevant question we have to ask. We should really be able to ask ourselves, who do we want to be? What kind of society do we want to live in? And what other kind of people do we want to be around? And I think we have to answer that question and then sort of shape society to be that way. Because number one, we have to remember that we are society. So we, each other, we are the mob. The individuals are the mob. The mob is the individuals. We are us. So we have to remember that we are individuals. We are also part of a community. We can be both. So on that note, speaking of, we should all support each other. If you want to support me with the show, I have one Patreon subscriber or a supporter right now. If you'd like to support, there's a link in the description to this video. If you have some friends that want to debate about all sorts of issues, whatever it is, I don't know. I play devil's advocate pretty well, even if they agree with us. They want to debate, send them, get them onto the show. Tell people to subscribe, like, and do all that stuff. Promote the videos and get people connected so we can turn this into something. And I don't know, get more combos going. And it's always more interesting and entertaining when we've got different points of view, and especially if people are arguing, it gets heated, exciting, might be awkward. I don't know if that's good or not, but hey, whatever's good for ratings, right? No, but through good ratings, we can, in order to change the system, we must first master the system. So I think that's something that we eventually need to do. So if you guys know anything about making stuff get more followers and more other stuff, whatever, help out with all of that. But until next time, and it'll seem like it's crazy, a whole week went by. And the next week is going to be like, bam, again, be the same one. So until then, I will catch you on the flip side. Catch you on the, what did Michael Scott says? Catch you on the flippity flip. All right, peace. Traveling through. Come on, what's going on? Damn.